5 persons have been killed when 2 female suicide bombers attacked Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, on Sunday. This is just as the death toll in the Tiv-Junkun ethnic clash in Taraba state rose to 10 on Sunday. A statement by the Information Officer of the National Emergency Management Agency in the state, Abdulkadir Ibrahim, said the emergency response teams have confirmed that 2 female PBIED carriers detonated their explosives within 5 minutes interval at the Munadati settlement. Meanwhile, Chairman of the Wukari local government area of Taraba State, Daniel Adi, on Sunday confirmed that 10 people were killed and several others injured in the ongoing clash between the 2 ethnic groups in the state. The ethnic groups share common boundary with Benue and Taraba State. It describes the crisis as unfortunate, adding that the 2 ethnic groups in Kente had coexisted peacefully for many years after their first clash in 1991. Earlier, we spoke to members of the Red Cross Society of Nigeria to discuss increasing cases of kidnapping and our state of preparedness as regards emergency response. You had some of your staff not too long ago kidnapped and some of them even killed. And just recently, as we read in the news, the director of the Air Service, Fire Service was also kidnapped. I mean, how do you react to these seemingly increasing cases of kidnappings across the country, and what could be done differently? I'll bring that question to you, Ali.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. I think it's a question that has been asked several times by the media. So, to be more specific to the kidnappings happening, especially to humanitarian actors, this is something very worrisome. Has challenged the activities of humanitarian actors, especially in the northeast of Nigeria, where most of our operations as the International Committee of the Red Cross are present. What we did when this thing happened last quarter of last year was to adapt to the situation, to try to reassess the situation again, to work very closely in reassessing the situations, in re-establishing good networks with people we feel would be able to make all the actors to the conflict be able to understand the type of activities we do. For us, access is number one. As long as we don't have access to places, then this is the most difficult part of the country. I mean, of the situation that the humanitarian actors are facing, especially the Red Cross. So last year we had this unfortunate situation where our staff were abducted and unfortunately finally killed. We have made all efforts to see that they have been released unconditionally. This failed actually, but then we are not relenting on this. We still call on people to understand how humanitarian actors operate. Humanitarian actors are neutral organizations that work in conflict situations. Let me be more specific with the International Committee of the Red Cross. Working in these conflict areas, because that is our mandate. We really have to make people understand that we don't participate in the conflict. What we do is try to address the humanitarian consequences of the conflict. So as long as people don't understand the activities we do, they don't understand the neutrality of the organization, then it is really very difficult for us to have access. And if we don't have access, it means a lot of civilian populations that have been affected are really going to suffer.
Well, I want to ask you this question. It goes for the both of you actually, but how do you keep doing the work that you do in spite of these many challenges you seem to face, from abduction to uncertainty of life to, poor environment, seemingly inadequate support system? How do you manage to do the work that you do?
Our mandate is to help people who are suffering. Despite the challenges, the Red Cross cannot stop helping people. When one of our staff or 2 of our staff members are kidnapped and eventually killed, there are thousands of other people affected who are suffering. And then our mandate is to provide succor to them. And the only thing we can do is to appeal to the community, to appeal to everyone that the Red Cross, the Nigerian Red Cross Society, working with the International Committee of Red Cross, we don't take side. We don't support anybody. Ours is to look for the humanitarian need. Where it arises that we need to support them, we go in to support them. Despite the challenges or our loss, we are happy seeing people smile as a result of what the Red Cross is doing during the conflict or other types of disasters.
Yeah, humanitarian efforts, you make sure that people's lives are better when you meet them. And just recently we had this situation here in Lagos where a building collapsed and children were trapped inside. A lot of effort was put in there to bring out as many as they could alive. And then we also had, not too long ago, the report, just over the week, the report from Rivers State, from the situation from late last year, when a building also collapsed, and they've brought out punitive measures, actions they need to take, and all of that. How would you rate emergency preparedness generally, and what more do you think we can do to improve on the situation? I don't know, we might want to take on that question.
Yeah, talking specifically on the role of Red Cross, we prepare for disasters in what we call disaster risk reduction and preparedness, where before anything happens, we have our volunteers trained on first aid, trained on disaster management, trained on things that should be done during disaster. And of course, in Nigeria, we have over 800,000 volunteers across the nation that are always ready to respond in case of the building collapse. You see our volunteers doing evacuation and doing first aid. First aid is actually one of our core competencies in the Nigerian Red Cross Society.
I'll just ask you, what brings you specifically to Lagos? I'll bring that question to Ali.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for bringing in first aid into the program. What actually brought us to Lagos is mainly to continue with our network with journalists, and also to train journalists on first aid program. We have invited a number of journalists and media organizations to come to Ibis Hotel to be able to be trained on first aid training, and also to have an understanding on how the International Committee of the Red Cross and also the Nigerian Red Cross operates in terms of this.
It's time to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more news when we return.